We're going to look at today, if you are an executive or a leader, as most of you are, most of the fans of this podcast fall into that category. And today we are going to look at the one thing that every executive, every business owner, everyone who has somebody reporting to them, the one communication tool that you have to have in order to be effective. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Sam Linton Show, the podcast designed to help you shift your mindset, find your voice, and change your world. Sam is a pastor, coach, and expert communicator, helping leaders and entrepreneurs like you step into their purpose, speak with confidence, and make a lasting difference. So let's dive in.
There is this idea in cults, and you're like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about cults. Yeah, I am a sucker for cult shows. I'm a sucker for shows about how cults start. And it's interesting because if you study how cults start, there are some ingredients that are typical. Like a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times the people that are into the cults where you're like, I can't believe they went for that. A lot of the people tend to come from rough backgrounds. They tend to have some experience of abuse, maybe even some experiences of, how do I say this, like problems with authority. They know that they have been maybe mistreated or neglected, and then they find a cult, and then all the things change. Well, if you ever wonder what skill a cult leader has to have, it's the same skill that I believe every executive has to have. And I don't want you to start a cult if you get this skill when it comes to your speaking. However, because I don't want it to say, well, I heard this podcast and this dude made me start a cult. Then I'd feel like I'd be responsible for you starting a cult, and that would not be cool in my humble opinion. But even if you're not interested in starting a cult, you should be interested in this type of speaking. And this type of speaking is called vision speaking, or visioneering, or vision casting. Or if you're looking at it from an identity standpoint, this would be vision driven leaders or entrepreneurs or executives. As a leader, you have to be skilled at painting a picture of a vision for your people. It has to be. Now, this is some of the problems that a lot of people have, and I'm just going to give you with the idea of being a vision. Number one, right off the bat, if you're a tactical leader, meaning let's say you're a CTO or maybe a chief financial officer even, and you are into the data, you're into how things work and how we got to where we are, you might hear you got to be a visionary, and you're like, I'm not a visionary, dude. I'm a numbers guy. I'm the guy that brings the numbers to the table so that we can make decisions. And those numbers are very important. But just as important is being a visionary, because a visionary has the ability to elicit action from the people they lead. A visionary has the ability to elicit action from the people they lead. All cult leaders have this. Cult leaders are good at painting a picture of what it would be like if you follow what we're telling you to do. What would your life look like in the afterlife, unfortunately? What would it look like if you gave of your finances? Vision, 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 vision. I'm not saying that that's wrong for church. I'm a pastor, obviously. I'm a teaching pastor, so I have to be comfortable with vision. Imagine this, imagine that. Now, if you're tactical right off the bat, you are going to feel like you are sounding unrealistic. You're like, this is fluffy. This is a little too woo. I'm not that person. I am the guy that just tells it how it is. I deal with realistic expectations. And I am not telling you to divorce yourself from who you are. But what I am telling you is that the way you motivate people isn't just by giving them facts. It's by giving them a vision. Also, I'm going to appeal to a little bit of selfishness that you might be having. It's easier for you to talk about the numbers. Let's be honest. It's easier. It's always easier to talk about the facts. Oh, the sky is blue. The ground is hard. It's easy. You know why? Because you are competent when you talk about the facts. It's easy. It's easy to talk about what the Q4 goals were and how you met them. It's easy to talk about how many new clients, the cost per click that you've had on your ads. It's easy. What's harder is when you take that data and you tell a story with it. So a couple things that are going to require you to shift in your mindset as you look at your visioneering type of language. Because if you want to get your people to follow more of what you're saying, if you want people to engage with you in a way that actually makes a connection, you're going to want to adopt some vision vocabulary. So there's 3 shifts that we're going to aim for that we have to make. Number 1, the first shift, this is a big one, we have to shift from plans to possibility. We have to shift from plans to possibility. We have to shift from this is what the up-to-date schematic is for this to imagine what would happen if we blank. So I'll give you an example. We have been working on at our church a building project for over a decade. We bought a multi-million-dollar piece of property. We had to develop the land. It was undeveloped, so we had to do all sorts of restructuring of the landscape there. We had to put detention ponds in. I mean, it's a long haul type of project. Last night, we had a meeting with our board, and the pastor, the other pastor who runs the church alongside me, he's the senior and founding pastor, he began to cast vision. He began to talk about the fact that we are right on the edge of putting the foundation for the building in, and that we are so close. We're closer than ever to being in the building. And it was exciting. And the reason why the meeting was exciting is because he was giving a vision of what it like. Imagine what it's going to be like when we're on this property. Imagine how much more people are going to know the church exists. Imagine what this is going to do for our facilities and being able to serve people. Like, he started to use imagine if language. And here's why it's motivating, because there are people on the board who are accountants. There are people on the board who are small business owners. There are people on the board that are software people. There's a particular gentleman, he is in cybersecurity. These are data people. I mean, they want to know the data. They want to know, like, you're not going to impress them with a whole lot of woo. But you have to be able to engage in a way where you cast a vision that is bigger than the data. You tell a story that is more engaging than the year-end numbers. And that means that you have to shift from planning, like what the plans say, what the plans are going to be like, what's going to happen with these plans, to possibility. Imagine if. Imagine if. I've spoken to a lot of executives, and I was coaching an executive not too long ago, and we were talking about a system that they were implementing in terms of checking in. Like, there's a bunch of these. So there's one that's most popular is the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, for small businesses, where you systematize your business. I'm certified to train in another one that is the Small Business Flight Plan through Donald Miller, and that's kind of my philosophy. They're all similar, but one thing that's also similar with bringing systems into your business is it's not sexy to talk about that. Like, most people aren't going to go, oh my goodness, they call their spouse, right? Hello, you will not believe this. Today, you won't believe this. We learned about the monthly check-in. Like, nobody is excited about that. And it's really difficult to engage your people on the data of, like, we're going to start this meeting, we're going to have this way of accountability, we're going to check in doing this, we're going to have this, we're going to do that. Like, it's really difficult if that is your mantra and that's the tone of the meeting, for other people to be bought into the fact that this is a good situation. Now, what I encourage them to do is to shift into a more dramatic storytelling way, to say that this system is going to be what we need in order to grow at our business. And they started off by talking about how they've been trying to essentially manage and run their business with a blindfold on. And they did a demonstration. It was really, really cool. They were like, what can I see here? Like, what am I bumping into? And they pretended like they had a blindfold. Okay, what's going to happen over here if I bump this? Oh no. Okay, I'm trying to lead blind. They said, if we don't have a system, I'm leading blind. And I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what we want you to do. You don't know what the organization's mission is. So we got to have a system. And just by that little start off of a story of the possibility of like, now I'm not leading blind. Now we're on the same page. You feel appreciated. Your work is validated. Like, they started with this vision of what it would look like if they adopted this type of system. And it is pure gold, honestly. But you have to be willing to go from plans like what we're doing. Okay, we're going to do this new operating system. It's going to be great. To like, what's the possibility of the implementation of this, right? So we have to go from plans to possibility. So another thing that you have to keep in mind about this, and again, if you're tactical, this is going to be particularly important. If you are data-driven, data-focused, big story, analytical, you want to make sure that whatever way you are talking about the possibilities and the plans, that you are doing it with respect to your audience and not just how excited you are. Like, I could talk for hours about how I'm excited about the new church, how it's going to impact me and my legacy and things that I'm doing in my life. I could talk for hours about that, but it's not going to move a lot of the people that are on the board. Even though I'm one of the executive leaders of the church, it's not going to do a great deal if I cast vision to my potential clients. Like, I had a sales call this past week, and I signed a new client. And when we were talking about what I do, they asked me what I do. I didn't get to go, I have a vision that I can land 35 more clients in the next 6 months in order to make my revenue this to this, because it would take my revenue from here and bring it up to here. I didn't talk like that. I would never talk like, they don't care. They don't care about my revenue. I mean, I hate to say it, but they don't. What they care about is how what I'm doing is going to impact them. So when you are speaking in all of these shifts, you want to make sure that if you're talking about from the plans you have to the possibility, you're focused on what they're going to experience. Hey, your day, if you use EOS, it's going to be easier. Hey, your morale in your team is going to be more functional. Hey, your confidence in the team is going to be even more solidified because you're going to have whatever it is. You want to make sure that you're speaking a story that impacts them. So vision point shift 1 is from plans to possibility. Second big shift. And this, again, is going to hurt you if you're a tactical leader. But I love you. We need tactical leaders. We need you. We need your anchoring into reality and data. You have to go from data to destination. You have to go from data to destination. Every single set of numbers tells a story. Every single set of numbers. Every single set of numbers. So I will share with you just a little bit that I was working with somebody from an accounting firm not too long ago. And they were talking about the trends in people's businesses and how important it is for people to see trends. And they were having trouble selling their services. My suggestion, why don't you sell them a story? They said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what do those trends mean? Well, the trends means that if they're going up, then more people are buying their product. And I don't quite remember what the product is that we were focused on, but I'm like, okay, well, we're getting warmer. What does that mean? Well, that means that the people are enjoying the product. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that maybe their lives are going to be changed by this product. Okay, so what do those numbers say then? Those numbers say that we are having life-changing results by selling more of our product. And each number, each increase in revenue is a reflection of the lives that our organization changes. And when you look at that scale going up, that's one more person that's introduced to our ABC product. One more person who's finally dealing with a huge problem that our product solves, whatever. So when you talk about numbers from that standpoint, it gets really, really fun. I'll tell you what I say, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm doing everything. That's why I started a company that coaches, executives, and leaders, people that want to get better at speaking. That's why I work for Dale Carnegie. I'm going to be doing some more training for Dale Carnegie coming up. All of this, why? Because I believe that if people get better, that have people reporting them, if executives get better, the whole company gets better. So, we have those visions, right? When I was a kid, I'm like, I want to change the world. I want to change the world. I want to change it. Well, here is a little secret. I am changing the world little by little because I'm working with business owners to get them to speak better. I'm changing the world. That CEO is going to walk into his first of the year meeting, and he's going to be more confident. He's going to connect with his people more. And there's somebody on his team. And let's say they're an entry-level person. Let's say they're just barely new in the field. They're going to come home and tell their wife and their children, or their husband and their children, if they don't have children, their husband or their dog, whatever. They're going to come home, I'm getting lost in the fake avatars here. They're going to come home and say, I love my job. I love who I work for. They're so excited about the work I'm doing. And therein lies my goal. I want to change the world by making the leaders of the world better. And if I talk to somebody who, like, I'm going to be coaching somebody that has 35 people on their team. If I talk to that person, well, those 35 people, their lives are going to be better because of the coaching that I have done with their executive leader. So when I tell a story to the people on my team, I'll say, look, this is more people that are feeling confident than ever before about their speaking. Do you know how much more revenue they're going to make, how much better they're going to make as a morale for their teams? Like, I really paint that picture. The data is connected to the destination. So you want to make sure that data is connected to what your overall goal is. And the goal can be a little bit woo. It can be a little bit woo. It can be a little bit of I kind of get the touchy-feelies, like the tingles. You might get that. And I know, again, if you're tactical, this is going to rub you a little bit wrong, but I guarantee you there are people on your team that don't think the way that you think. And that's okay. If everybody thought like you, there will be a lot of people that are unnecessary. Everybody thinks differently. And as a leader, it's not their job to figure out how to interpret you. It's your job to figure out how to make your message clearer for them so that when push comes to shove, when they have to work the extra hours, when they have to live at the job, they are still connecting what they do to the destination of how you have set the vision out. That's the connection. All right, so we have to go from data to destination, from plans to possibility. And then finally, and this is another one that you can really wrap your head around that'll help you, you have to go from tasks to transformation. Tasks to transformation. So what does that look like? Well, a couple things. A leader so often has to explain the different tasks. Like, hey, you have to be responsible for this. This is your deal. Make sure this happens. Make sure this happens. So what instead has to happen, you still got to train on the tasks. You can't get around training on the tasks. You can't get around, oh, I'm just going to blow this off. We're not going to do any tasks. Here's what you have to do. You have to talk about how the organization is impacted or transformed by the tasks of the people that do the job. All right? You have to be able to articulate how the organization is being transformed by the tasks completed by the people doing the job. You have to directly connect the impact on the organization to the task that you assign. If you can't, if you won't, if you shouldn't, then that task to that employee is useless. It's worthless. I will tell you a story. I was working, this is my first foray into the corporate world. I had a brief stint in the corporate world. I still am in the corporate world through my training. I do a lot of corporate work, but before I went into vocational nonprofit ministry, I landed my dream job. I was on the, 10th floor of a bank in downtown Pittsburgh. So ride the elevator up. I don't remember what floor it was, but I remember looking at the open window, the window and the skyline, the Pittsburgh skyline, and I was like, oh, I've arrived. And this job was a temp job. It didn't last very long, but I ended up staying downtown and working for a different bank after that. I was always into banking, always wanting to be in that world. And I was there in the job, and after about 2 weeks, I'm like, this is the most boring job. I'll tell you what my job is. I'm gonna try not to bore you with it, but I'm gonna bore you with it. My responsibility, and this is how long ago this was I would receive faxes. Faxes, yes, you heard that. Faxes, fax machine. We would get faxes of either incorrect or fraudulently applied numbers to debit or credit cards from different vendors and customers of the bank. So these are the credit cards that were disputed. These are the things that were maybe where the card was charged in error. Maybe there's something wrong with the machine and the machine didn't get the right numbers and now the client lost all sorts of money, whatever it is. If you're still awake, I applaud you. That's boring as all get out, just hearing that. But this is where I started to like what I did. After 2 weeks, I'm like, this is boring. Well, then one of the team leaders pulled me aside and they said, you know what, this is cool? They said, you know what's cool about this? They said, every time we fix one of these and we send the right settlements in, it helps people that had bounced bank fees or transaction return fees. It helps those people to get money back into their pocket. And all of a sudden I got a vision because I grew up very poor. We had money, but it was mismanaged. And so we would struggle. And a lot of times my parents would overdraw their bank account. A lot of times they wouldn't have any margin. A lot of times we couldn't afford certain things. And all I could visualize when the leader told me that story was somebody like my dad who was living paycheck to paycheck, realizing that there was a credit card error, and then the bank comes in and fixes it, and now the money goes back into the account. And it motivated me to do that job more than any. I mean, I was reading those faxes. I was sending faxes out. I was a fax maniac. I was on top of it. I was super productive. And all I could think of is what I was doing, that stupid task of taking it from one fax machine, correcting the number, approving the number, and then putting it into a different fax machine, how that changed somebody's financial life. I thought of myself and my upbringing every single time I made one of those transactions. And what I realized in that moment is there is no such thing as a menial task. There's no such thing as menial tasks. There are only tasks that are a long ways away from being connected to the vision. It's your job as a leader to show people the roadmap of how what they do connects and makes an impact on something greater. Now, there's a couple areas where that greatness will matter. Number one, if you could get like me, where you're actually thinking it as a consumer, like, oh, this is going to affect somebody who's poor, it's going to affect their life. You could think of a secondary thing of how it's affecting the job as a whole and how what they're doing is they're building the company and making it better. That's the second thing you tie in. Or you can tie it into how it's affecting others on the team. You're helping other people on the team. You're making a difference. But you want to be able to go and explain how each of the tasks lead to some sort of transformation and how your people directly respond. And it's very, very important. So a couple final things about this. If you're like, I don't know how to do this. Well, first of all, you can start off a story, like you could start off a meeting like this or communication like this by telling a story. I want to tell you a story about a guy who went and bought fireworks for his kids on the 4th of July. And then his credit card got charged 4 times by accident. He overdrew his bank account. And then the next day he called our office and we were able to get all that money refunded plus the fees, plus we gave him back a convenience charge. And now he's celebrating the 4th of July with his family. That would be a way to tell the story. And then you tie it into those faxes. If anybody's still using a fax machine, I'd love for you to let me know. I like the satisfaction of watching the faxes go through. Didn't like how they would jam. I did like that instant satisfaction because the little email swish just doesn't do it for me. It's like, I need some validation here. All right, so, but coming back to it, that would be how I would open up a story and tell them about a real case that the bank solved. But what can you do? What kind of story can you build to frame that vision and tie those tasks in to their daily life? Second of all, You want to use, and I'm kind of a stickler on this. Now, I'm talking just to you. I say you a lot and I, because we're having a conversation. But you want to use a lot of inclusive language. Now, what I mean by inclusive language is we and not I, us and not me and you. You want to talk about how we are doing this. We can build into this company. We can help people become better equipped to handle their situations. Because when you hear we, you hear teamwork, and teamwork makes the dream work, as they say. You want to make sure that people hear when you're talking about vision, this isn't your vision, this is our vision. Now, of course, it starts with you. If you're the entrepreneur, the vision for Glint's storytelling group is mine, but when I have people that I'm taking on, it becomes our vision. This is a shared vision. We are reaching people. We're training people to communicate better. We're making a difference. And we are helping companies all over the world. That leader, if they leave their company and go somewhere else, they're going to take the skills that we teach them and they're going to use that elsewhere. So that's how you frame that. And then another thing that you want to do, in addition to making inclusive language, is you want to repeat. You want to repeat. You'd like to repeat. Can you say that again? You should repeat. Did you see what I'm doing? I'm repeating. You want to make sure that the important things of that vision are repeated. You might have looked at it 100 times and looked at your notes 100 times and you're like, I'm so sick of this. I get this. It's annoying. But not everybody else has. Not everybody else has. They heard it once from you and you're already tired of it. Well, they have to hear it like 10, 12 more times. So you have to reaffirm that vision with them repeatedly. Otherwise, it's going to just be like something else that you do and a meeting that goes off into obscurity. So you want to make sure with vision language that you're repetitive of the key things. We believe that this could happen. We believe that we can make a difference. We see how this would happen. We will do this. You want to make sure that it is tied into something that you want them to remember. So takeaways, simple. Plans to possibility, from data to destination, and from tasks to transformation. You want to transform your leadership language by speaking like someone who casts vision. If you need help, I'm your guy. I would love to work with you privately. I just scheduled I'm getting tons of VIP days. So it's crazy because I'm looking for where to put them. I still have room though. So VIP day is a short block of time where I work with you individually. I have offices all over Pittsburgh and I work with your team too. I would do a workshop, but I also work individually coaching you on how to become a better communicator. This is my guarantee. You will have instant results. You will see those results and then you will immediately be able to apply them to your next talk. So if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, podcast@samuellinton.com. I would love to be your coach. I would love to see your transformation because I know if you transform, the rest of the world is going to transform with you. So with that said, thank you for tuning in. Shift your mindset, find your voice, change your world. Until next time.